How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball. Welcome back to another round of Premier League predictions. And you've also got the review of the weekend from the Premier League as well. We're into the final 7 days of the Premier League season. So let's get into it. It is tight in the scoring. It's 421 to Sim, 416 to me. And it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline. 1 point for a correct result. And the star man, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for assist. Let's get into the Fulham Manchester City game, which finished 4-0 to Man City. We got the number of goals right, but we just had too much belief in Fulham. It did finish 3-1 to Man City. I mean, and this is probably the way you want to see Man City play at this stage of a season. I thought they were breathtaking. They were brilliant. Completely controlled the whole game, and the scoreline reflected that. There was a few scares at some point in the game, I think, when Man City were only 1-0 up, but Man City, apart from those couple of moments, completely swept them aside, really.
Yeah, it's classic Man City end of the season domination job, I feel, at this point. As we said in the preview, they're so comfortable at this stage of the season because they've been here so many times before, and each time they come away with a really strong end to the season. So there's just no doubt at the moment with them that they're going to give it their all and they're going to be nearly faultless at this stage of the season, and this is more evidence of that. Props to Josko Gvardiol, who's turning into a goal-scoring machine at the end of the season. At this point, 2 goals. I think it's 4 goals in his last 7 games or something like that. And he's scoring some really nice goals as well. The opening goal,
yeah, brilliant,
really great move, and his touch and finish was spectacular right at the end. So, and obviously he got one, I think the third one as well. So, and even Haaland didn't have to get on the score sheet. They still got 4 goals, which goes to show with the firepower that we all know they have. And look, going away to Fulham is always a tricky game, and they made very, very light work of it.
Yeah, Man City always have this player that just pops up at the end of the season and gets them out, or I wouldn't say get them out of trouble, because Guardiola didn't get them out of trouble this game, but they comes up trumps at the end of the season, which may be someone that you don't expect. I think last year it was Ilkay Gundogan, it's been Rodri, and now Gvardiol as well. So yeah, big up to Gvardiol, and I think he's been improving as the season has gone on, and I think he's probably been the best left back in the Premier League this season. Let's move on to Bournemouth against Brentford. It's finished 2-1 to Brentford. Sim went for 2-2. I went for 2-1 to Bournemouth, but Brentford did get the win at the Vitality. And this was a game like a bit like London buses, wasn't it? You wait so long for one to come about, and then 3 come about in quick succession. I think the first goal was scored on like the 88th minute or sometime late in the game, and then Bournemouth got the equaliser, and then Brentford went up the other and scored another goal.
Yeah, great win for Brentford, and maybe a result which they get the points which their performances have been deserving of late. And I think maybe Bournemouth bit lackluster in this one, not quite on it, and the team like Brentford, if you're not on your game, they always got the talent in the forward line to exploit you, and that's exactly what they did. A great goal from Mbeumo to give them the lead. Solanke did fire back, but they did get a late winner through Wissa, who's obviously been a consistent performer for them. And it was a really, really good win for Brentford, and it's a good win to maybe top off what has been a good end to the season for them, and they'll look to take that into next season, because I feel like they've been in a bit of a false position for a lot of the season. You know, at times they were battling relegation, but they've been too good for that, and I think their performances and results have been a lot better in the last few games, and I think they're a good team, and I think if they could use that Tony money well, they could really kick on next season.
Yeah, and I think the same can be said for Bournemouth as well. Really strong second half of the season. I think they'll get better next season on the back of that as well. Raola's just signed a new contract, a 2-year extension, so thoroughly deserved, isn't it?
Yeah, and he obviously clearly got nominated for manager of the season. No surprise there, with an unbelievable job. And yeah, phenomenal from him. And I think they're only going to go from strength to strength, Bournemouth.
Next is Goodison Park. Everton 1, Sheffield United 0. Both of us going for Everton wins, but Sim went for 2-1. I went for 2-0, and it probably should have been 2-0 to be fair. I thought Everton were dominant throughout. Sheffield United had their chances, but it was few and far between. Really impressive home form now for Everton. 5 wins on the bounce, 5 clean sheets on the bounce as well, and ended the season out at Goodison with another win.
Yeah, solid. They have had a really good end to the season. They've really kicked into gear when it looked like it was going to get hairy for a moment, but they've ended the season remarkably well. Really good, big credit to Sean Dyche. And this was obviously a standard win. They did dominate. They did deserve it. They'll probably be a bit disappointed that I think Calvert-Lewin missed a few chances to make it 2, and they should have probably extended that lead. But they'll take the 3 points. And now, if you put it, I don't know how many points have they had taken off them. 6.
Yeah.
So level with 12th. pretty good going for Sean Dyche.
Yeah, absolutely. So he keeps his job next season then?
I think so.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to Newcastle against Brighton. It did finish 1-1. Both of us went for 4-1 to Newcastle, and I felt like Newcastle were the better team throughout. They created the more chances in the game. Brighton did have their moments as well, but I feel like they just couldn't break down or get the ball past the Brighton goalkeeper. He made a number of saves on the day, and I think they'll be disappointed with only taking away a point from this game.
Yeah, big opportunity for Newcastle to really put pressure on maybe Spurs in that race for top 5. That draw probably costing them a realistic chance now. Spurs only need a point to confirm 5th place. So not a great result, but they did play well. They did create a number of opportunities against a Brighton team who we know aren't the best defensively, and you can really get at them, especially with the way Newcastle play. And they did that, but their finishing was just off on the day, and Brighton got their goal from a corner against a run of play, and Newcastle couldn't make it pay, so unfortunately 1-1.
Yeah. Spurs against Burnley. It finished 2-1 to Spurs. Sim went for 2-1 to Spurs. He gets the 5 points. I went for 3-1. So 1 point comes my way. And I felt Spurs were heavily dominant throughout. I thought the performance and the domination levels also grew as the game wore on. When Burnley did score and open up the lead, I did think it was against the run of play. But yeah, Burnley had little, next to nothing in the second half. And Spurs should have won the game by more than 2-1. Having said that, it wasn't exactly a vintage display from Spurs, but I just think that we were the better of the two bad teams on showing, to be fair. I think the forward line from Spurs should have done a lot more. The crosses into the box was poor, the finishing was poor, and it took for a late Van der Ven goal to get us out of trouble and to get the win and get the 3 points. But the game kind of panned out kind of how I expected. I think I said in the preview that we'll get a goal, we'll concede first, get a goal before half-time and score 2 late goals, but it was only 1 late goal.
Yeah, I think Spurs were worthy winners, but it did take probably till the last 20 minutes to really create the level of opportunity that we should be creating in this kind of fixture. Burnley tried their best and they did quite well in the opening exchanges. It's classic Tottenham at home to one of the bottom 3. It's pretty much every game has been the same pattern. Poor start, go 1-0 down, get back in the game and score a late winner. And we've won 2-1 against Sheffield United, Burnley and Luton all at home. And the same pattern has been in every game. So it's a classic performance. But I do think they deserved it. I do think they created enough chances to win the game. But what a winner from Van der Ven, taking like a seasoned striker, putting it in the back of the net. So phenomenal. But this is the end for Burnley.
It is the end for Burnley.
They are relegated into the Championship. No sign that they're going to change company or anything. I think that is the right decision to stick with him and build for next season, getting back into the Premier League. And I think they are capable of it. They gave a good fight maybe late on, but in all honesty, if it wasn't for the points deductions, they would have been gone a long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you're looking at the 3 teams that have gone down, I think, if you're a Burnley or a Luton fan, which we'll get into a minute with Luton, I think there is reasons to be hopeful looking into the future, but I can't say the same if you're a Sheffield United fan. No,
I think the future looks a lot brighter for Burnley with the way Vincent Kompany has them playing their football with a higher standard of players. You know that they're capable of doing better things. With Sheffield United, it definitely seems a bit different.
Let's move on to West Ham against Luton. It finished 3-1 to West Ham. Sim went for 4-0 to West Ham, so he gets a point. I did go for 1-1. Luton started off the game really well, got that goal, but they just couldn't sustain it after pretty much the 20th minute or even earlier than that. And West Ham took control. They got 3 goals all in the second half and won the game quite comfortably in the end. And that pretty much seals Luton's fate unless they can win by 11, 12 goals or something on the last day of the window, or 13. So yeah, they're pretty much down, but I think they could be proud of the way that they did conduct themselves this season. They were a breath of fresh air, but it was just a step too far for them.
Yeah, unfortunately, they ran out of steam at the end. That's the reality. As much as they gave it a really good go, probably around the midpoint of the season when they were, getting some surprise results and really taking the game to teams, only losing to the likes of Arsenal in stoppage time, losing to Spurs late on as well.
Liverpool,
they nearly even beat them. It was an equaliser Liverpool had. So they had some really high moments, but unfortunately, I think they gave so much into the season. It was just they gave all they could, and near the end, it was clear that they just weren't good enough to stay up. They were losing heavily too often. 5-0 against Brentford was the big killer, I think, where they really needed to win that game. And I think I always felt West Ham had the quality up front for which were going to be too much for Luton to handle, and so it proved. And they've given it a really good go. They were the ones closest to staying up. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the case, but I think Rob Edwards and the team can be really proud about how they've conducted themselves this season, and especially in a lot of the big games where they've really been so close to getting results. So I think they should stick together, and maybe next season go again and try and get back in the Premier League.
Yeah, you've got a better memory than me, but can you remember the last time 3 teams that have come up, they've gone straight back down? Because I can't remember that.
Apparently, it's only the second time it's happened.
Second time, is it? When was the
Premier League
first?
history. I'm not sure. I can't remember the date, but it's not happened for a while. So it's a rare occurrence. But is it? I don't know if it's evidence of the increasing quality gap between the Premier League and the Championship. I don't know, or is it just one of those things?
I don't think it's evidence of that, but I think when you look at the 3 teams that came up, I don't think they did enough in the transfer window to bring in enough Premier League quality players. I think you look at Luton's squad, you look at Burnley's squad, you look at Sheffield United's squad, and when you look at them, they look like a Championship squad, don't they? They didn't, do much to get those Premier League players in.
We've got 3 teams here who all of them aren't going to get 30, let alone 40. So they've really been very, very poor. Sheffield United have been up there was one of the worst we've ever seen, because the record is 11 points. They've got 16, so they're quite close to that in terms of the record low. And let's be honest, as I said,
the record low was 11, wasn't it?
11 under Derby. And let's be honest, as I said before, if it wasn't for that manufactured relegation battle with Forest getting -4,
would have been gone a long time ago.
All of them would have been gone a while ago. It's kind of only because they've had deductions that it's kind of been a bit of a fight, but not even with the deductions, they're all down with a game to spare. So let's hope. I do feel like maybe next season with who's coming up,
Leicester,
Ipswich, and maybe one of Leeds, Norwich, Southampton, West Brom. One of those teams, maybe they'll give it a better go.
Yeah, when you look at those 3 teams, I think Leicester, aren't they coming up with the points deduction straight away?
I don't know if it's confirmed, but I think they have been charged, so I think it's likely.
That'll make it hard for them. But I do think already, like when you look at Leicester's squad compared to the 3 teams that have gone down, they've got a better squad already. So they're coming up with a bit of a fight, with a few Premier League proven players. Then you're looking at Ipswich. I mean, it's going to be so hard for them with back-to-back promotions from League One up to the Championship, now to the Premier League. They're going to need to make heavy investment in the summer. And the other, if Leeds come up, Leeds have got a few really good players that can perform in the Premier League. So I think it already improved the quality of the Premier League with these teams coming up.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was always going to be a tall order for all these teams. I think the real disappointment is that Burnley were a lot worse than we anticipated, because I think at the beginning of the season we all thought they could maybe challenge for a mid-table, but didn't really happen like that, and unfortunately they just weren't good enough.
All right, let's move on to Molineux. Wolves 1, Crystal Palace 3, which carry on Crystal Palace's amazing end to the campaign. Sim went for 1-1. I went for 2-1 to Crystal Palace. And, Wolves actually started all right in this game. Couldn't really put the ball in the back or not of fashion serious chances, and then Crystal Palace out of nowhere, bang, 2 goals. And then it was pretty much game over from there. In second half, Crystal Palace again started off the better team. Wolves scored, I think, against the run of play, and then then Crystal Palace straight away burying the game with 3-1.
It's just that front three, isn't it? Olise, Eze, Mateta, absolutely unstoppable. And what an end to the season Ollie Glasner and Crystal Palace are having. The only thing that could dent their enthusiasm right now is if one of Eze or Olise do leave in the summer, which is not unlikely at this point.
Yeah.
And how do they replace that kind of talent? Because they're honestly, they are world-class talents, those 2 players, and you've seen how much damage they're able to do even against really good teams near the end of the season. They've been so consistent as well. It seems like a really exciting place at the moment, Palace, and I think it's a testament to how great Ollie Glasner has done that Bayern are going for him. Even now, he's only been there for a few months, and yet Bayern want him to take over. And Palace are so adamant they want him to stay there. They're saying they've put a 100 million price tag on Ollie Glasner. So he's doing a fantastic job. But I do wonder if who they turn to if they do sell, and if Glasner does get a bit annoyed if one of them do leave.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, but you got to look at Palace's recruitment as well. It is brilliant recruitment, and I think that they'll have some plans in place. I think they've already got probably plans in place because they know that Elise, Eze are not going to stay there for the rest of their careers. They have been close to leaving in the past, so I'm sure they're already thinking about succession plans. They've got Adam Wharton in the middle of the park as well, who's also been linked with Bayern Munich, crazily enough, and there's reports saying if a bid high enough does come through for Adam Wharton that they will accept it. So and he's the one only joined in January too, so there's a lot of excitement around Crystal Palace, and I think rightly so, but I do think that their recruitment will get them out of trouble if they do sell these players.
I hope so.
Nottingham Forest against Chelsea finished 3-2 to Chelsea at the City ground, which Nottingham Forest did confirm their survival in the Premier League pretty much if they don't lose by 13 goals or something, or if there's not a 13-goal swing on the last day of the season with Luton. Sim went for 2-2, I went for 3-2, and Sim probably thought he was getting a three-pointer when Raheem Sterling got that equaliser with 10 minutes left to spare, but 2 minutes later Nicholas Jackson puts them 3-2 ahead, which was actually a really good game of football, wasn't it?
Yeah, toing and froing. Both teams were on top at one point. But one player I want to talk about, Callum Hudson-Odoi. He's really coming into it at the latter stage of the season, and some of the goals he's scoring consistently, getting in those similar positions and finding the corners consistently, time and time again. And obviously they signed him at the beginning of the season for $3 million. As he finally, I don't know how old he is now, Hudson-Odoi, maybe 24, 25?
Something like that, yeah.
Is he finally realising his potential at this point? Because I have to say, I've been very impressed with some of the goals he's been scoring, and I know he's always been a player who can come up with a magic moment, but he's starting to do it really consistently. I think it's 7 goals this season. It is 3 in his last 2 games as well. And look, if we're talking about a $3 million signing for a player with that kind of ability, if he can show it consistently, this could be one of the bargains of the century.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've mentioned on this show, when he was at the Chelsea Academy, he was supposed to be the shining light of Cobham, literally. People were saying they've never seen more talent out of anyone from a Chelsea Academy player, and he's gone on loan to this one, gone on loan to that one, never really shone, and maybe his attitude or something like that was holding him back. And I guess he needed to grow up a bit. He needed someone to give him a chance, and I think that's what we're seeing now.
Still 23, still quite young.
I want to see him do it over the course of a season though, because I think he's scored some of these goals throughout the season, but it's still been very patchy. And I know he's on a bit of a run now, but this is the first kind of consistent run that we've seen him have this season. He's still been very patchy throughout the season.
8 goals this season. 8 goals, 1 assist. Yeah, I think he hasn't been on this form for the whole season, but I just look at some of the goals he scores, and he doesn't even need a lot of backlift. He just needs a tiny little bit of space. Just sees he's
got amazing quality about him.
Incredible. And I think this guy, I think Forest might have a gem here if he can keep up this kind of form, because if he can provide that kind of quality consistently, that's a really scary proposition for him. And I think Forest as well suit him in the way that when he does attack, he usually does have a bit of space, and he usually is 1-1 with the defender a lot of time when he does pick up the ball. So I think that really plays into his hands, and yeah, his finishing ability. We all know he's got it. He just, for one reason or another, hasn't been able to show it over his career consistently. But this season maybe is the season we're starting to really see the real Hudson-Odoi, and I'm very excited about that prospect. But in terms of Chelsea, good win for them. Really keeps them on the heels of Newcastle. Only they're on level points with them, and they both have midweek games.
Yeah.
So Chelsea now realistic potential of finishing top 6. Then they finish 6th, and United lose the final. They get that Europa League spot. Yeah. So fair play to Poch, but it's weird. I don't know if you've been seeing some of his interviews. They're very strange.
Who, Pochettino?
Yeah, really
no,
weird
I haven't seen them.
He's been he was talking about, obviously his future's still up in the air a bit, and he's been the journalists ask him, is he going to be here next season? What's the latest? He says, and he's been very cryptic. He's saying he keeps saying if there's one thing whether they're going to keep me and not sack me, but there's also one thing whether I'm happy and whether I will decide to leave or not. It's okay, that's a really strange thing to say if that's not a possibility. So I don't know if this is something that's going to come to an end at the end of the season, regardless of how it finishes. But considering how strongly they finished, and also I think what the stat is, I think in 2024 only the top 3 have more points than them. So I think Bowley would be stupid at this point to sack him.
But Bowley keeps saying how much of a good job he's doing and how much he's going to support him and all this kind of stuff. So I can't see Bowley sacking him at this point. I really can't.
I don't know. Just Poch is speaking very strangely, really strangely in the press.
But you know what, Poch, though? He always speaks cryptically, and whether it's positive or negative. Even when he was at Spurs, he used to be like that and speak very cryptically. He has a weird way with the press, Pochettino. And I think it's pretty much, I've been saying this all season, if you give Pochettino time, he will make it, he will get it right at some point. And I think you're starting to see that now, second half of the season.
Yeah, and 3 wins on the trot. And yeah, look, top 6, I think, considering they finished 12th last season, that's also a major improvement.
Yeah, is a major improvement. And I do think they get that 6th spot. I really do. But we'll see what happens. 2 games to go for Chelsea. Do you think that they will get over Newcastle and finish in that 6th spot? Let's move on to Old Trafford. It finished at Manchester United 0, Arsenal 1. Sim went for 3-1. I went for 5-0. It wasn't the complete mauling that I expected. It was a terrible goal for Manchester United to concede after 20 minutes in that first half. I don't know what Casemiro's doing once again. But look, it was just, I didn't enjoy watching this game. I thought it was such a poor game of football. Arsenal pretty much after that goal just sat deep, asked Man United to come at them, and Man United essentially just could not do anything. Garnacho looked like a little boy coming up against Ben White, and just pretty much showed Man United just have little quality about them, and Ten Hag's got to go in my opinion.
I think it was a really comfortable 1-0 win for Arsenal. I always felt like as soon as they took the lead, that was going to be it. Yeah. Really, I felt like Man United actually started the game pretty well, and I actually thought they had quite good control in the game. But a stupid moment. I think that goal comes from the way Ten Hag sets up his team. He inverts the fullbacks a lot of the time, and yet he's got Onana going long. And as soon as Arsenal win that second ball, they're in trouble because Casemiro hasn't gotten out quick enough. And
that's an understatement.
Yeah, I mean, understatement. Dallow's inverted. So it means there's all that space for Havertz. I obviously when it happened, I was like, how is he not offside? And then I looked at the replay, like, what is going on here? Who sets up this team? It's ridiculous. I think Man United, gave it a go, but unfortunately, it just didn't have the quality. No Rashford, no Bruno. It was always going to be very difficult without that quality in the front line. And I thought Arsenal found it very comfortable, to be honest, to see out that victory. And they probably would have never thought how easy it would be at Old Trafford to just go there and see out a 1-0 win. They never really looked like conceding. I thought their only player who was actually getting some joy was Garnacho, in my opinion. He actually thought he was getting away from Ben White quite regularly, but he just didn't have the quality to do anything with it when he did get away from him. So, and as well, in that last few minutes, Garnacho, a lot of his crosses just floated right into Ray's arms, and that was very, very disappointing. So, good win for Arsenal. That obviously puts them in the ascendancy in terms of the title race, and they're going to be massive Spurs fans on Tuesday after that victory.
Yeah, you see what Kai Havertz said after the game.
I'm going to be the biggest
Spurs fan. We all are. Oh, they all are. So yeah, ridiculous stuff. But let's move on to the star men. Sim went for Heung-min Son in a 2-1 win for Spurs. Did absolutely nothing. And I had Anthony Gordon in a 1-1 draw with Brighton. He did get a goal, didn't he, in the latter stages of the game, but it was ruled out for offside. So 0 points all round for the star men, which leaves it 1 point better off for me. 4 points in it going into the last week of the season. We've got 4 games that we're predicting. One of them we've actually predicted already, which is tonight's game against Liverpool, and the weekend's fixtures as well. So all to play for going into the last week of the season for Predict the Prem this year. But let's get into the last 4 games or the midweek's fixtures. Aston Villa against Liverpool. I went for 2-1 to Liverpool. Sim went for 2-2 in the game. We have already given our explanations for this one, but if Liverpool do win this game, like my prediction says, it's going to leave Spurs in a bit of a precarious situation.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what to think.
Well, even a draw does, to be fair.
A draw less so, but I think still a draw also still leaves the door open for top 4 as well. I think if Liverpool win, it really is on for Spurs if they do beat City, because I think there's a good chance that Villa fail to beat Palace on the final day, which they will have to do if Spurs do beat City.
So what are you going to want? Because you've been a massive chasing top 4 advocate over the last few months. So what are you going to want?
I want top 4, but not at the expense of Arsenal winning the league, of course. Look, at the end of the day, as much as I want top 4, that's something that you can put right in a season. If Arsenal win the league, that goes down
in the history books. Yeah,
that's something that, and as well, that's something that Tottenham would help contribute to, and we'll never live that down. So can't be having that. But if Villa do win, obviously tonight, that does seal their top 4 place, and then Tottenham have got nothing to play for. So it's going to be an interesting game tonight. I do see it being quite an open game, and I see it being a game full of chances, and it'll be about who can take them. But yeah, I'm not sure who's going to win tonight, but it's as a Spurs fan, it's hard to know what to want.
Yeah, it is very hard. I mean, I don't think it's hard. I think it should be plain and simple. I want Villa to win tonight, and that will leave no questions asked going into the final week of the season, and hopefully Man City can do the job tomorrow night, which leaves us on to our Tottenham-Man City prediction. I have gone for 3-1 to Man City. Sim has gone for 2-1.
Yeah, I do see it being a good game of football, but obviously we haven't been great against the top teams, albeit against Arsenal was only 3-2. We only lost by 1, but we were 3-0 down. Obviously, we know that City are going to come into this game massive favourites. We know that it's going to be a weird atmosphere at the Tottenham Stadium. I still think, in a weird way, the way that this has panned out, in a weird way, I think would give extra motivation to the players to prove that they're not going to just roll over. And I think that their professional pride might come into it. So I do see it not being an easy game for City, especially under the circumstances. But City at this stage of the season can't look past them getting the 3 points, and I'm sure they will get the job done. So I've gone for 2-1 City. Yeah,
team that has never scored at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in since it's opened in the Premier League, which is actually mad to think about. They've won the league 3 times, potentially 4 times in a row. They've never scored a goal here. But I just see Man City being too much to handle for Spurs. We've lost 4 in our last 5 games, 4 of them on the bounce, just to getting over the line to Burnley last weekend. So I can't really see anything but a City win, as much as that's what I want as well. But I think at this stage of the season, City are just inevitable, aren't they? And they're blowing every team away. Every team you think, this could be a potential banana skin, score 4 goals there. I mean, they're scoring a minimum of 3-4 goals every single game at the moment. So I can't see anything past Man City. So that's why I've gone for 3-1 to Man City. Let's move on to Brighton against Chelsea. Sim's gone for 2-1 to Chelsea. I've gone for 2-2 here. Brighton, actually, they seemed a bit on the beach 3-4 weeks ago, but they are having a slightly better end to the season in terms of the results that they're getting. And at home, last home game of the season, I think it is. I'm not sure if they're playing at home on the final day, actually. But I do think they'll give Chelsea a game, and I'm going for 2-2.
They played Man United at home last.
At home. Okay, fair enough.
I think Chelsea are just playing really well at the moment. And I think actually the way Brighton play, they like to obviously keep possession and build. Chelsea like to press really aggressively, and I actually think their pressing has been working really well of late. And I think João Pedro's injured. I do see Brighton being a bit blunt going forward, and I don't think Chelsea are the best defensive team, but I do see really good green shoots at the moment for Chelsea, and I just feel like they're going to go to the Amex, create enough chances to win, and score enough goals. So I've gone for a 2-1 win for Chelsea here. Yeah,
I just feel like Chelsea's away form is still not where they want it to be, and I think it's their home form really that's they're on a roll with at the moment. I know they won at Nottingham Forest, but I think Brighton's a bit of a different kettle of fish, Nottingham Forest. And Manchester United, Newcastle, a big game in terms of European qualification. Both of us gone for Newcastle wins. I've gone for 2-1. Sim has gone for 3-1.
Yeah, I'm looking at Man United's team on when they played against Arsenal, and if they play a similar team, I can see Newcastle with their front line really taking advantage of that. And I know Newcastle have had their injuries, but I think they've got the forward line in Gordon and Isaac to really put them to the sword, even at Old Trafford. And I can see Man United ending their season at home in a bad way. So I've gone for a 3-1 win for Newcastle.
Yeah, I just feel like Man United's season is pretty much finishing like the clips you all saw of Old Trafford. Pretty much after the Arsenal game, with water falling down into the away end and onto the pitch. I mean, it's disastrous when you look at Old Trafford. When you think about Old Trafford, you think about one of the best Premier League stadiums, and it's literally just crumbling. And I feel like that's what's happening to Manchester United's season at the moment. Newcastle finishing the season well. They didn't get a win on the weekend, but I think they did deserve a win. But I think they go to Old Trafford and take all 3 points, albeit I think potentially a bit tighter than people may think. So I have gone for 2-1 to Newcastle. And let's finish off on Starman. It's a Chelsea head-to-head. Sim's gone for Noni Madueke. I've gone for Nicholas Jackson. I think Jackson's been on really good form. So has Noni Madueke, to be fair. But I think Nick Jackson is actually proving a couple of people wrong at the moment with he was a bit of a figure of fun first half of the season, but his number of goals is actually quite impressive.
Yeah, 13 goals. So Fair play. Unfortunately, it was slim pickings for me. I think I've picked pretty much all the attacking players from all the midweek fixtures. So I think Madueke was probably the best one left. So I had to go for him. But he has been in good form. And I do think against an open Brighton side, I think he can definitely do something. So I've gone for him.
Yeah, so Madueke assist, Jackson goal incoming. You watch this space. But that is it from us for Predict the Prem. 4 points in it. Let me know who you think is going to come out on top and let me know your predictions in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment. We'll see you next time.